Continuing here. Yeah, Max Kaiser and Stacy Herbert, their show Kaiser Report on RT. I really like Max and Stacy. I think they've got integrity and I think they're honorable, good, decent, upright people. And so I like to listen to the show. It's fun to watch too. But Max has been fixated on this Bitcoin and cryptocurrency, and this is the future for everybody. This is the new fiat currency. But when you look at the reality, the fact is that very few people use this stuff, especially in everyday transactions. I mean, you can't even use it. Swipe a card or something at the grocery store. You can't do that. They're not that I know of. And it's not easy. I mean, people want literal currency. I mean, if they're going to supplant the Federal Reserve notes, they better get a hell of a lot more serious about this. Okay, about getting actual physical currency in people's hands. And that's when they're going to realize, hey, this thing has its limits to how many people are going to want to be involved in it. Because a lot of people don't. They think of it as a beast system and everything's going digital. And so a lot of people are just turned off of digital money, and I'm one of them. So, when I hear them obfuscate, confuse things in this way, I don't expect it from them because, of their honorableness. But, he's got to explain because there's different ways you can talk about inflation. He'll talk about, I was talking about currency inflation. Printing, money printing, quantitative easing. Maybe, but if he doesn't explain it, then nobody's really going to understand it because this is an issue that's already been deliberately obfuscated by the evildoers in many ways for a long, long time. They don't want people to have just basic, rudimentary, sound understanding of economic principles. So you could say what is true capitalist, supply and demand, free market, and what is not. Because you know what progress, you know how to define it, you know the evidence, the litmus test that can be accepted. Remember, your dollar starts this big. We start the game. Here it is, right here. The buying power, here's wages here. So this is what your wages, you go put in a 40-hour work week. These are how many dollars worth this much you're going to get, this big. So we're just using the size to explain the worth. But over time, they've shrunk it. That's regression. Okay, that's regress. That's not progress. That's the opposite. It's worth less and less and less. That's coin clipping, debasement of currency through cost of living, tax, inflation. Okay, and it's bad. It always has pernicious results for the poor, for the wealth disparity. It's just theft is what it is. Essentially, it all amounts to theft. So, I just want people to understand there should be no ambiguity here, okay, in your mind about what is progress. Your dollar is supposed to do this in worth. Okay, that happens naturally under supply and demand because, like I say, we're able to produce more and more of the things that we need and want, and that's why the price drops. So I just don't understand what it's upsetting to me. It's frustrating to me that they would talk like that about inflation, and almost like they're buying into this idea that inflation is good. That they were saying that, well, there hasn't been inflation, like that's a good thing. And it's like, what in the hell? Okay, we've got to have cost of living go down. Okay, that's it. The cost of living tax must go down. That's the only way. We're never going to get wages are never going to be where they should be because you can do the math. And Max and Stacy point out this stuff. They believe in, hey, instead of quantitative easing for the criminal banksters, okay, that cause the problems deliberately, cause the economic chaos, the bailout of '08 I'm referring to. We should, if capitalism prevailed, we would have had a market correction, a severe one at that point, because we were in it deep. They had overextended themselves a lot to the tune of trillions of dollars. So you understand what I'm saying here is that I think they're good, and so I'm going to hang in there listening to them. I just, wish that they would explain because I left a comment about this, and I hope that they get into it on a future show and explain what they're talking about. But yeah, we're after a strong dollar, or maybe Max sees the dollar as a competitor at this point. Not caring about the vast majority of people that have to use that thing. So until we don't have a Federal Reserve, yeah, I'm all for canning the Federal Reserve, doing what JFK did. I'm all for it, sure. But we got to do something. People want physical currency in their hand. If we still got to use this stuff, play this stupid game, we need checks and balances, we need oversight, we need accountability. We need the Labor Department to work for everybody, not just some people. And by not giving commensurate cost of living adjustments over the decades This is how long it's been going on. Now, the equivalent buying power of a minimum wage in the 60s, okay, would have to be approximately, on average, over 40 bucks an hour. As hyperbolic as that sounds, even if it was hyperbolic, it's the point. It's math. You could do the math. Well, how much were your housing costs back then to pay mortgage? How much was food? And you just write it down, and you just underline, okay, it costs that. So you understand what the dollar would buy you back then as what it'll buy you today. So this coin clipping, the dollar clip slicing, has been going on. So all there is slivers. But people figure, well, and it's true, if you have enough slivers, then you're still rich. Okay, so, but at what expense to the masses, to the regular people? In California, the majority here are now being oppressed. They can't afford to be homeowners, and that figure keeps going up. That wealth disparity keeps going up, that wealth imbalance. People can't, is, harder and harder and harder, like pulling a rabbit out of the hat to enter the middle class of home ownership. So we're there, man. I mean, we're already there. We're in a really bad spot. And then we want to call it a democracy. I mean, to whose benefit is raising the cost of housing in California? It sure as hell doesn't benefit the majority, does it? I mean, let's just be honest. Just be intellectually honest, and you'll say, yeah, I'm just logical. I'm a logical, reasonable guy. Okay, I want to just play the game, but let's play it fairly if we're going to play it. If you're going to coerce me, force me to have to play this game, this holy rigged game, I'm going to speak out against it where it's unjust. And it's unjust up one side, down the other, and to the nth degree. So I hope I misunderstood what Max and Stacy were talking about. Sometimes I wonder, about Alex Jones. He, professes to love Jesus and he's a good Christian, believes in God and all this. But sometimes the way he talks, it seems like he's got other issues that supersede that. When he talks in an unloving way toward his enemies, I mean, and he does it so deliberative. Okay, when I do it, I try to correct myself. And I do it because, it's a form of falling. It's like a sin. Well, if God said to love your enemies, if Jesus said to love your enemies, and you're not doing it by your own words, you're not even trying to hide it, that you hate your enemy, and your advice is to hate your enemy and to curse them and condemn them to hell, it's inconsistent. What is more important to Alex Jones? Is more important that pleases God, to please Jesus Christ, or to please his carnal instinct to want to condemn the evildoers, even knowing that this goes against God's instruction? And by so doing, remember, if, like King Solomon said, if loving your enemy from your heart is akin to pouring hot coals over their head, I take issue with Alex Jones showering them with potpourri and flowers and chocolates. So, I mean, let's get a modicum of consistency going here, Alex. Just, understand that your commitment to Christ is a hell of a lot more important than your commitment to hating these people. I mean, you've got to change your thinking, man, how you just do it. You're talking about, all these people you get on the show, like the amazing Lucas, you got Kanye West, and you got Mike Cernovich, and they're all telling you, the answer is love. You want to contend, you want to cope with these people, you want to confront them and correct them and change things. Then the most powerful thing you can do, everybody's telling it, all these close friends, all these people that that are in the spotlight and whatnot, they're telling you the answer, and that's the same answer I would give. It is the most debilitating thing to the evildoers. When you genuinely say, look, you know what? I mean, this guy is not well. And what can I do for somebody that's not well? I can love them. I can let them know that God loves them. I can love them myself. And, as long as they're not a physical threat, I don't need to use offensive violence. I don't need to think offensive violence or I just need to think that they're lost and that these are the ones God cares about. If you got 100 sheep and 99 of them go along with you, the shepherd, and do what they do. They're obedient, but one wanders off. The shepherd's going to go out there and he's going to search and find that lost sheep. And that's the whole idea with forgiving our enemies, all heaven rejoicing over more over one evil person that repents than 99 righteous people that didn't need to. I mean, the 99 righteous people can be disgruntled if they want, but they're righteous, so they're not going to be. They're going to say, I understand that this is what floats God's boat. He's working on us, and he doesn't want to lose any souls. He wants all. He wishes none to perish, but all to come to repentance. And he doesn't delight in the destruction of the wicked, even though, we can be tempted to revel in the destruction of the wicked and want to destroy them. And I get it. I'm not going to play stupid here. But for God's sake, Alex Jones is in such a prominent position of influence in the world stage that, to give these evildoers the satisfaction that they want, to be self-satisfied and say, hey, you know what? I mean, I got your number. Yes, that's exactly what I want you to think of me. I want you to hate me. I want to get your goat. I want free rent in your head. You understand? That's what he's doing by letting these people get him. And Joe Rogan recently rubbed Alex the wrong way with something he said about George Soros. And so Alex he's talking in a condemnational way toward him. I mean, he's got to read his Bible more. I mean, read the teachings of Christ, pray more, say, God help me. I mean, unless, you're just going to go down swinging and, with hate in your heart, wanting to destroy the evildoers. I mean, I get that too. I mean, every righteous person understands, but we've got to do what the Bible says. Let vengeance be mine, saith the Lord. I will repay. So he's going to do it, and it's going to be when there's a chasm fixed, when the evildoers cannot reach the righteous. That's what's coming, this great separation. It's over and over. Jesus, the analogy of the weeds from the cultivars being separated, the wicked from the righteous, the sheep from the goats, on and on and on. So that's what's going to happen, which is the best method I can think of, is separating the wicked from the righteous. But love, I mean, that is the answer, is love is the most powerful force in the universe. Einstein said it, for God's sake. So, I use this analogy of, people that want to blame the effect, all the homelessness and all these people, say they're weak links. And, like Alex, he derides them sometimes. It looks like they're schizophrenic freaks on drugs and, whatever your attitude you get. It's ungodly attitude, though. You think, it's like walking through a burned up forest and just telling the trees, you know what, you guys are weak. You weren't resilient enough. Why couldn't you resist the flames that were caused by this idiot throwing a flare into the dry brush and starting the fire on a windy day, and the whole forest was destroyed? And that's what they've done with the bailout of '08. That's what's happened in our land. With the assassination of JFK, getting off the gold standard, one step after another, moving this Overton window incrementally, the boiling of a frog, right, so he doesn't jump out. They had to do it slowly and stealthily, surreptitiously, cunningly, diabolically. They've done this to us. But to blame the burned out trees, that's like blaming the poor people. Oh, they're on welfare. Well, who created the need for the welfare? Cloward and Piven strategy. This is all deliberative. So, I mean, welfare is the last thing to go. We need basic income. We need Social Security. We, whatever it takes. If there's not enough jobs, if we got more and more machines taking the jobs and there's not enough work, so be it. Whatever. It doesn't matter. You want to clear up the LA freeways? Then all these people that are going to jobs they don't even need to be at, don't go. We solve the basic problems of society. Those jobs are going to fall away anyhow. All these people that are in the financial services industry, they're going to be out of work. They're driving on those freeways right now. All these people in selling real estate, they're going to be on the freeway. They're on the freeways right now. They won't be. On and on and on. I mean, law enforcement's out there because there's a lot of jobs in the criminal industrial complex. A lot of military out there. People going to jobs of every, insurance, sales, and it goes on and on and on, right? And then we got the welfare, social welfare industrial complex. All the social workers going to work. They're all out there on the freeways, right? So all these people don't need to be. Okay, a lot of people won't need to be. If we just fix basic problems, a lot of the other problems will fall away. It'll cause social, political, and economic cohesion instead of the opposite like we have right now. So we've just got to get it, man. But will we? I don't know. I mean, it'll be probably, something really, like I say, something of biblical proportions, some sea change of biblical proportions, monumental. Something's got to happen that's got to trigger and quicken the spirit in man to say, I get it now. We cannot contend with money at all. That's what's going to eventually happen. And I say we should get there slowly and gently as possible. But are we? No, we're not. So, what do we do? What do we do? I mean, I do what I do. I'm preaching the truth about economics. I want everybody to be empowered with the understanding and knowledge and wisdom of how this works, just basic rudimentary economic principles, capitalism, so you can discuss this with people that claim to know a lot about economics, and you can bring up subjects like, hey, well, you know what? Whose planet is this anyhow? Don't we all have an inherent right to share? And the system would break down. Really, prove it. Prove it. Prove it. Point to volunteerism. How do you explain that? Point to all the people who are dissatisfied after retirement. Talk about these things. Talk about the fact that we're made in the image and likeness of God, that we have an instinct not to be self-serving, decadent, lazy, pissant